The turning points in music are several. What I'm trying to bring out is the importance that happened in history, in music. Aaron Copland is the first American composer to establish a way of composing nationalistically speaking. He visited Mexico, and after visiting that place, he saw the composers of Mexico writing in a nationalistic manner, meaning and they were adopting the folk tunes, the rhythms of their country, and incorporated those things into classical music. So creating symphonies, tone poems, ballets, operas, with the theme of the local and folklore of their countries. America wasn't doing that. The United States was still composing in the American and the European manner, even though when Dvorak came to the United States with the New World Symphony and trying to implant that, it was not until Copland comes back from Mexico that he decided to incorporate all those folk tunes that were popular or known in different areas of the United States and created the nationalistic movement. That was a turning point in music in the United States. The Prokofiev Piano Concerto No. 2, it has a very important part in history of classical music, because the piece really brings out something different, something new, a new style of performing in the piano. In this concerto, the composer incorporates everything. The themes are within the orchestra and within the pianist. And the pianist also begins to have, like he would have 4 hands or 6 hands instead of just 2, because he begins to be playing all over the place in the instrument. You would see the instrumentalist doing like this, crossing from one place to another to play, and the melody will be and the orchestra would be very loud as well, playing the themes, and they would be just interacting. So this is a very important turning point in classical music, because this work really shows us how the new way of composing for an orchestra and a solo piano. Hao Chen Sang, or as they would say in Chinese, San Hao Chen, because they normally put the last name first and then the first name, is a very gifted pianist. He was the winner of the Van Cliburn competition, which is done in Texas, and he's originally from China. He came to the United States to study at the Curtis Institute with Gary Grafman, who is one of the greatest pianists of all times. And he won this competition and has become a big star. So he's been giving concerts all over the place in the world, recitals, concertizing with orchestras, and he is the perfect soloist for this type of a piece. We all know Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I mean, anybody can at least recognize the motif. Pa 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 pa. Well, that really was the first time that any composer wrote a piece that it had a motive, that it became a theme. Because normally what we had in the past with Wagner and with Liszt and some composers that used motifs were to quote, just like in an opera or in a tone poem, somebody or a place, or just say an emotion. But here, the piece is a symphony. So it's a symphonic work written specifically for an orchestra that doesn't have any characters, it doesn't have any real drama into it. So the motive is the whole theme, and it calls the attention immediately to the listener. And that's what I call it a turning point, because after that, a lot of composers began to try to do the same thing without having to really be just like Beethoven did, but they thought this is a clever idea. This is a wonderful way of doing it. So that's why I brought this into be a turning point in classical music, especially in the symphonic world. The difference in between a melody, a theme, or motive is, and a melody normally has like a whole phrase. You can hear like in a phrase, in a word, I mean in a sentence. You will have a sentence and it has the article, and it has the subject, and it has the whole thing, the complete sentence. In a motive, it would be just like saying, for example, take. And you develop everything from take. And, or you say love, and you develop everything from love. So you don't have, I love you because you are the most beautiful girl in the world. You just say, I love, period. That's a motive. And that's how he presented it, with just this theme that we all know, that para-pa-pam, para-pa-pam, para-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pam, pa-pa-pa-pa-pam, pa-pa-pa-pam, pa-pa-pa-pam, pam-pam, pa-pa-pa-pam. So it develops from that motive. We all have an important moment in our lives. So we have moments that you can always identify, and you can say, do you remember the 9/11 day? Do you remember the Titanic, first time you saw that movie and related with the date? So with music happens the same thing. How can we remember when was the first time we listened to some piece, and what impact that gave that to you? And each of the pieces have something very special for me. The Salón México, for example, it was the first piece I conducted a complete work, because normally I did a movement or an extract of something. And in the school, when I went to the Montu school, they gave me this assignment to conduct El Salón México. And my teacher thought probably at the beginning that was going to be easier for me, or I don't know, harder, because it changes meters and it's difficult to conduct. So it was going to be a way to introduce me into how to control the beat, because that's something is hard. But the piece I had played it before in orchestras, and the experiences were not always wonderful. It was always difficult to play that piece in an orchestra, because if you don't have the good guidance of a conductor, the musicians can get lost. So this piece always brings some kind of mixed feelings with me, because there are some times when I feel very comfortable, and there are moments that I don't feel so comfortable, because it brings back the memories when we were playing the piece at one point, and I was playing violin, and the whole orchestra got lost. The conductor and the concertmaster were fighting to see who was right. And my brother looked at me and says, where are we? And I said to my brother, just wait a second, let me close my eyes and just follow me, okay? And he looked at me and I said, now, yam, pam, 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 pam. And we came in with the rest of the orchestra. And we saved the show. The Prokofiev Piano Concerto, I played it several times too in an orchestra, and I did not enjoy it until I was able to conduct it. Because it's a piece that you need to be in the whole orchestra. You need to be knowing what's going on in every single instrument in the orchestra, as well as the piano soloist. And then you can really enjoy it. Sometimes being in an orchestra, pieces like this are not so much fun, because you are just concentrating in your own part, and you don't get the surrounding. And I think it's one of those pieces that I enjoy conducting, not listening or playing, conducting. Beethoven's Fifth is one of those pieces that are always given to a conductor as an assignment to know how to direct, how to conduct, how to bring the orchestra together, how to make it happen, that they know how to perform, when to start and when to stop. Because as simple as it sounds, para-ta-tam, para-ta-tam, there are several ways of doing it. There are some that like to do pa 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 pa, stop, and then pa 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 pa. And there are some that like to do it the way it's written. Pa pa pa, ta ta ta, and then stop right there in the fifth bar to start then the melody. But it's very difficult to start an orchestra in this way. So you have to really know how to do it and be convinced how to approach the orchestra to make them play together. Please join us this season in Turning Points in Music.